everyone, today I'll be reviewing this brand new Lee Daniels movie. It is making quite controversy around internet. Although this movie, it is number one right now on Netflix. It's called The Deliverance and it is starring Glenn Close. And when I saw this movie was coming on Netflix, like from the trailer look of it, honestly, I was not that excited to see this movie. But after listening to all this controversy and everything, finally I saw this movie. And what do I think about this movie? Overall, this movie, it isn't perfect by any mean, but I personally actually quite enjoyed this movie all the way, almost like the end. That is where this movie got a little bit like, the tone for this movie a little bit got goofy, and all this horror element didn't always make sense. But end of the day, I still quite enjoyed this movie. This movie is actually quite engaging right from the beginning till the end. And this movie, it is based on a real life story of this woman who was living in this house and it was haunted. She was living there with her 3 children and everything. Whatever movie based on a real story, it gets tricky, because like, what do you tell about the character? You cannot show everything, but you have to make it balanced for the movie to make it entertaining. So in real life, I don't know if this woman was this much borderline abusive to her kids or not, but in this movie, whoa, this woman, like this mother, is really quite borderline abusive to her kids, which is like, it's really hard to watch. When you watch this movie, you are like, especially Andre, her character's relationship with her mother, played by Glenn Close. Glenn Close is the centerpiece for this movie. It is Glenn Close. Her performance is so captivating and her character is so damn interesting. She's just absolutely amazing in this movie. I can't even believe it. This mother is played by Glenn Close. She did so good. All the things though, some of her dialogue did make a lot of people upset out there. But you have to understand, when this dialogue was saying, like especially Glenn Close character, she didn't say those things. She was possessed by the demon, and demon was making her say those things. I don't know why people got upset. If you have seen the movie, yeah, demon was saying those things. So I'm not upset that she says all those things. But overall, this movie's main meat is like, both of these actors are really quite good, especially Andra Day. She's really good in this movie. She looked beautiful. She looks like Rihanna, honestly. Like so many times, I was hard time believing it was Andra Day. I was thinking it's Rihanna. She looks like her. But she's a really good actress. Like you have to see this movie to believe. Like, she's so good in this movie. She almost she's almost as good as Glenn Close. And Glenn Close, how many Oscar nominations she has? 8, I think. But I think by the time, I was so sad watching this. I think she should at least win at least one time, Glenn Close. She really deserved that Oscar. But I guess you have to be in the right role. Will this movie get her that Oscar nomination? Unfortunately, probably not, because this movie is sitting quite low on Rotten Tomato, because this movie brings such a controversial topics, about religion stuff. Although this movie, based on that, but I think this movie done good job balancing. Like, it's not all about religious, but if religious people watch this movie, they will be satisfied with it. I'm not personally that much religious or anything. I thought it was okay. I overall really like this movie, but still I can see why some people will have difficulty watching this movie. As I was saying, this movie is really, Andra Day, her character is, she's so abusive at a time. I was like I was doing this, especially the way she hit the kid. I was really I really wish I did not see that. It made me feel very uncomfortable. Then again, that was the point for this movie. However, though, as we reach to the third act for this movie did get weird, because it is a horror flick, it's horror, I think. Although Lee Daniel, I think he came out and he said it's not full horror, it's not a full-time horror movie, but it does have some horror element, especially in one scene when this kid's jumps out of his bed and climbs the wall. That scene is just so weird. Then again, it does make sense because he was possessed by demons. So some of this scene did not bother me, but I see a lot of people got bothered by some of this scene. But you have to remember, this movie story is that is, although it is based on a real life story, still it is a movie. Like, I wish really Netflix should put something on before it started. Like, some of these things are made up here, especially end of this movie when this portal opens up in their basement. It's like, oh my god. But that is the story for this movie. Like, they have this portal in their basement to hell. Like, that is the story. Yeah, last part of this movie was kind of like a bizarre and weird, especially when end of the day she need to face her own demon. That part was quite like, wow. This movie is actually, some part for this movie is very deep, but meat for this movie, like center of this movie is definitely Ender Day and Glenn Close, their relationship and the trauma she faced. Although sometimes I felt like this movie was really too much vague. I really wish they would just told us more about their relationship, because I thought their relationship was quite interesting. Same time, I personally have seen this kind of relationship, so it's not totally unbelievable. It's not just like in one race, this kind of relationship in other races, you face this abusive mom and a relationship, the cycle. I really wish this movie focuses more on that. Then again, this movie was trying to be all of this thing, but I think it never got the balance for any of this thing. But overall, it's not bad. That is the reason this movie is actually quite engaging, that it is quite hit right now on Netflix. I personally liked it. I think it's worth watching, but there is some abusive scene, as I was saying. It's really hard to watch. I was like, whoa. But Andy Day's character is really, I liked her a lot, because she's a complicated character, She's not a totally bad person. She does do some good thing in her life. Like, she was paying her mom's bill and everything. And also she bought this phone for her daughter. I guess, I really wish this movie focuses more on, like, the trauma she faced when she was little. Then again, this movie is not about that, so I get it. I really wish this kind of movie will be made more, but I think this kind of movie, same time, it makes people very uncomfortable. Then again, because people watch movie to get entertained, not to get get traumatized. Yeah. So I do understand why some people didn't like. I personally like this movie. Honestly, I really didn't want it to like this movie. But this damn movie is really engaging. Both of these characters, especially actors, so good you cannot stop watching it. That is what I thought personally about this movie, and that's my review on this. Let me know in the comment, what do you think about this movie? If you enjoyed about this review, don't watch other reviews on other movies. If you enjoy this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take care.